there is going to be a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 of our locations. The administrator is going to tell you that this is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure. It's going to lead to more cancellations. We're going to work with the airlines to do this in a systematic way. We are concerned about that. But we had to have a gut check of what is our job. Is it to make sure there's, minimal delays or minimal cancellations, or is our job to make sure we make the hard decisions to continue to keep the airspace safe?
And that's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy on this, day 37 of the government shutdown, the longest shutdown in history. The secretary revealing the FAA's plans to cut 10% of U.S. flights at 40 major airports starting tomorrow. This affects commercial and private travel and even space flight, grounding as many as 4,000 flights across the country. Senate Democrats, meanwhile, are still divided on whether to strike a deal with Republicans and reopen the government 37 days later. Some claim that Tuesday's election victories is a validation of their stance during the shutdown. Other Democrats are considering Senate Majority Leader Thune's offer to hold a vote on Obamacare subsidies in exchange for their support of a clean continuing resolution. Senator Bernie Sanders, meanwhile, weighed in. He claims that the deal would be both bad policy and politically harmful to Democrats. Joining me now is New York Congressman Nick Langworthy. Congressman, good to see you this morning. Interesting that Bernie Sanders is talking about what a continued shutdown means for him and his colleagues politically.
Well, that's all they've been focused on from the beginning, Maria, is politics. I mean, you see Senator Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries yesterday put an urgent letter to President Trump demanding an in-person meeting. Where was that urgency for the last 5 weeks? They only cared about it because it was the day after the election. And we've heard in crystal clear terms from their membership that they could not close out this shutdown before Election Day because they needed the intensity from their voters that Stop Trump at All Costs caucus within the Democratic Party. They didn't want them to stay home in Virginia, in New Jersey, and in New York, and in races around the country. And they were afraid of losses at the ballot box if they were seen as folding. And now you have Bernie Sanders saying that they have victory in blue states, by the way, that they were expected to win. And now they should continue the pain on the American people. So they're willing to put people's pain, on the back burner for their own politics. Yeah. It is absolutely disgusting.
Well, I mean, what are you expecting this to mean for the broader economy? You've got Sean Duffy now directing the FAA to cut capacity in the air, cutting flights 10%. What are your thoughts on the impact on the economy?
Well, we have greater impact every single day. I mean, this is cost taxpayers $7 billion for Chuck Schumer's temper tantrum so far. I'm the chair of the Aviation Safety Caucus, and Secretary Duffy's #1 responsibility is to keep the public safe. Yeah. You have stress on this system like never before. Imagine going to work for 5-6 weeks and not knowing when you're going to get a paycheck. I mean, people have life stress that's been caused by this. Our air traffic controllers have done an incredible job despite that turmoil. Our TSA agents, the same. There's too much pressure in the pipes right now. Secretary Duffy thinks that they have to cancel 10% of the flights. It's an unfortunate reality, but it is a reality, and it's one that we have to face, that there are consequences to inaction by Congress. Our inability to get the government open in Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries' unwillingness to be reasonable. This is the first time in American history we've had a shutdown over a clean spending bill. It's absurd.
Yeah, and not only that, but the safety issue is paramount. That's why I asked Sean Duffy 2 weeks ago, is it even safe to fly? People are worried. You mentioned what's going on in New York. President Trump warning about the rise of communism in America after New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's fiery acceptance speech on Tuesday night. Watch this.
You know, I'm so torn because I would like to see the new mayor do well because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs to just communism, or the concept of communism, has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech. certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
The mayor-elect already threatening to utilize the courts if the president follows through with threats to withhold federal money to New York. New York City Jewish groups issued a post-election warning to Mamdani, writing, our agenda remains clear. We will hold all elected officials, including Mayor-elect Mamdani, fully accountable for ensuring that New York remains a place where Jewish life and support for Israel are protected and can thrive. You know, the New York City Fire Commissioner, Robert Tucker, is Jewish, and he resigned just one day after the election yesterday. A source noted that Tucker's support of the Jewish state does not align with the new mayor, Congressman. This is scary.
It is scary. Elections have consequences. Mayor-elect Mamdani, it's tough to say that, is going to have a 4-year term of office. And I think he's going to learn very quickly socialism has never worked anywhere on the planet when it's been tried. But he is going to be responsible for administering services to 9 million New Yorkers. We want the city to succeed. But I really hope the weight of the job brings a clear dose of reality. But, you know, you're seeing who lines up with him in the transition team. I mean, you have Democratic socialists now running the city of New York, and there's a whole lot of Democratic socialists on the New York City Council, and they have plenty of people that are willing to collaborate with them in Albany. We have Governor Hochul, who went down on bended knee to support Mamdani, even when other political leaders sat this one out. This is a scary time in New York. The health of New York City is very impactful on the entire health of New York State. I fear that, you know, the Mamdani regime will lead to a greater hemorrhage in New York population. I mean, there was a survey before Election Day saying upwards of 1 million New Yorkers could be looking for the exits. That is something that's been brewing for a long time, but this is the kind of inflection point that can bring it to reality very, very quickly.
Now, there are certain things that are outside the mayor's authority, which we've talked about yesterday. For example, he can't unilaterally freeze the rent at all, right? I mean, that's an independent rent guidelines board. He can't unilaterally eliminate bus fares and do free buses. That's MTA and state approval. He can't raise corporate and millionaires' taxes and revise property tax structures because that's also Albany's approval is needed there. Even free grocery stores. He can't do that either because you need the city council legislation for program creation and budget support there as well. So are you expecting Kathy Hochul aligns with him on all of these issues so that he can do all of that?
Well, Kathy Hochul's in a real spot now because here she's bent the knee and pledged allegiance to Mamdani because she is petrified of the woke left in her own party. She's concerned about a Democratic socialist running against her for governor next year. So that is why it was a craven political decision for her to do that, to campaign for Mamdani in New York. And she's got some real decisions to make. Does she, you know, go along with his agenda to keep that base satisfied? Or does she do what's right for the taxpayers of New York and run the state effectively and not raise taxes in a variety of different ways? I mean, we need desperately to change governors of the state of New York, and I'm confident that we're going to be hearing from my friend Elise Stefanik very soon about her plans in that race. But this is a moment where you have a weak governor that is incompetent, that is petrified politically.
Bottom line, do you believe the results of these Democrat wins this week will be helpful to the Republicans come the midterms next year?
Well, these are blue states that elected Democrats. It wasn't a great surprise.
Good point,
There was some hope. But the policies that Mamdani will bring to New York is going to drive many voters to the Republican Party.
All right, Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Great to be with you.
All right, Nick Langworthy this morning on Capitol Hill. Stay with us. We'll be right back.